Today's Friday, October 17th. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome to CityCast Denver, the show about the city where Beyonce will not be performing anytime soon unless we get a domed stadium, according to Mayor Mike Johnson at a recent Axios Denver event about his vibrant Denver bond. And I actually have to say, I also heard that if we don't build the North Broadway bike lane, Jokic is going to ask for a trade.
Amazing.
I just heard that he's really mad about the funding for that bike lane that would be really great for me personally.
I would love to see that man on a bicycle.
Yes.
That would be so good.
Yeah.
Epic bike.
He would need a custom-made XL bicycle with like pedals so far from the seat. I love that.
I have some more of these. I had fun writing these.
Oh, continue,
Do you want to hear these?
No,
This one's for you, Olivia.
Oh, good.
Because I actually also heard that unless we vote to reform the city council elections this November, Labubu Man says he's going to stop selling trinkets.
No.
So we have to do that reform.
No.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This cannot happen to Trung An.
I know. That's worrisome.
That would be
So,
devastating
consider
for the
that when you're
trinket
voting.
The trinket community, the keychain community.
Mm-hmm. One last one. I heard unless the Park Hill bond passes, Lucifer told me he's going to actually go hang out at the Salt Lake City airport. Lucifer, he said that to me.
Whoa.
We were getting a beer the other night.
Oh my.
There will be people who will be glad about that.
No,
Some would.
Salt Lake City cannot handle that much Riz. Also, he doesn't have any Mormon garments.
Doesn't have Mormon.
What's he gonna wear?
Okay. All right. Let's get to the show. I'm Paul. Paul Caroli is my name. It's Friday. We're doing something a little different. Loyal listeners will have already noticed the start of the show is a little different, a little tighter. Most listeners, I suspect, will not have noticed anything and will not care. So
Budget cuts.
Welcome to everybody. It's budget cuts.
Budget cuts.
budget
Y'all
cuts.
enough people didn't join membership, so we had to cut the top of the show. So sorry. If you join right now, though, we might be able to bring it back. So join at membership.citycast.fm.
Wow. Confusing. Okay, great pitch. Thank you, Olivia. As always, it's Friday. We're looking back at the big week of news. So we're going to be talking about the next job that might be replaced by robots. Could be the Denver police, a controversial calzone shop lowering prices, and of course, we'll close with our wins and fails of the week. You've heard her voice. Producer Olivia Jewel Love is here with me. Hey, Olivia.
Good morning.
Olivia, you are the premier critic of Governor Polis's work on social media. I have to ask for your take on his week. He's had a big one.
Yeah, he has. He's been online.
What's he doing?
I saw one of his videos preparing for the Bad Bunny halftime show for the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Some people are upset about it. A lot of conservatives.
Yeah, a lot of people are not excited for Bad Bunny, which I'm like, okay, you don't like a club bop, you don't like a good beat, but I thought this was kind of an endearing video. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love seeing a weird, awkward guy listening to like really cool people music. It made me really happy and it was so funny, and I just loved thinking about like the person filming this video. It's like, okay, yeah, now nod your head. Yeah, okay, just like kind of walk. I thought this one, people hated it. I thought it was a good level of cringe.
Okay, gets the pass from producer Olivia.
Yeah, he also had he was talking about Trump's tariffs. He had a Holes reference, the movie Holes.
Really?
Yeah, he said he had the meme and he was like, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. And he's like, well, that's too damn bad. And like
I do not remember that movie well enough to know that reference.
Well, he was talking about the tariffs and Trump was like, well, that's too damn bad. Okay. And I was like, okay. That one's forgettable for me, but I like.
Normally he's more topical than that.
Yeah, it was kind of a deep cut. I was like, this meme was a thing a few years ago, but I feel like, I don't know, every time I hear it, I hear it in the voice. So I'm like, okay, it kind of it sparked something for me, but meh.
Well, we have a great guest today joining us. He's one of Denver's best reporters, currently with Denver Ed and CPR. Welcome back to the show, Kyle Harris.
Thanks for having me.
Kyle, how are you feeling about this little election we got coming up?
Well, it is a little election with a lot of spice. Coming into it, we're coming out of this summer where there have been massive budget cuts. We're looking to more budget cuts, and The mayor is proposing this obviously $950 million package of bonds, that's debt. Voters are going to have a lot of fun deciding whether or what they actually want to fund. So I'm excited to see how geeky voters are willing to get in terms of evaluating each of the different bond packages. We have a city council at-large election that you alluded to earlier that is going to be fascinating to watch unfold.
For the people that care to learn what it's about, I think they will find a lot to be interested in there.
Exactly. There's a lot to look at in terms of the politics of it, a lot to look at in terms of theories of voting, and it's a fascinating time to be reassessing how voting works in general in this country, because I think there are so many hot conversations happening in our, what are we, the hottest country in the world, according to the president? There are a lot of
Is that what he said?
That's what he says
The hottest?
again and again. The hottest. We're the hottest country.
What an odd word choice.
Global
What does
warming,
he-
girl.
Does he mean what is he? What is
Like,
he
we're doing great. That's his take.
We're okay.
Very
we're
hot.
That's his hot take.
Because we're great again. I
We're
guess,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Great.
So, there are a lot of conversations broadly, nationally about democracy, the future of it, what that looks like, whether that looks like. And so it's kind of charming to have Denver really worrying about the nuts and bolts of a tiny election. So I enjoy that.
I do too.
And I'm enjoying the debates. And the more I learn about the at-large issue, the more fascinating it gets. And I don't feel quite qualified to get into the nuts
Me
and
neither.
bolts.
We'll
Okay.
talk about it later on the show. That's next week. We're gonna have a whole thing breaking it down for y'all. So tune in next week. But right now we got a really good top story. We'll probably touch on some of these election issues, but our top story this week is something that you covered quite a bit this year. It's Flock, the public safety technology ecosystem, as they call themselves. It's been a subject of progressive Denverites' ire all year. And Mayor Mike Johnston has not only been defending the contracts with this company, but the Denver police have just signed a new one, according to your reporting, a trial program to provide first responder drones. Kyle, what is that?
A first responder drone?
Yeah, let's talk about what these drones are.
All right. So if you walk around Denver and talk to people, you hear often that they are dissatisfied with police response time. That is a common gripe across the city.
911. You call 911, people don't come.
Hours pass before someone
Yeah.
may or may not come or give you a call or whatever. So there's some frustration with police response time in the city. And as you know, our mayor, Mike Johnston, is incredibly enthusiastic about the idea of government efficiency. A couple weeks ago, he had his big AI summit where he was all over the place talking about all sorts of ways to make government efficient. That's some backstory.
Mm-hmm.
One of those ways, apparently, and law enforcement agencies across the country are looking at are what are called drone first responders. So let's say we commit a crime together. Because I always like to
I hope it's a
put myself
cool
in that
Aw,
position.
all of us.
We all
This
commit a
is so
crime.
fun.
Bank robbery?
We all rob a bank. This is
Okay.
great. This is great.
Okay, which one? Now we're talking about
we're not gonna
this.
get
Also, what are our
specific.
roles here? I don't know.
I want to wear a cool mask. That's all I care about.
Snitch? Me? Snitch?
Yeah, I was like,
The
Paul,
official
I'm kind
snitch?
of
Yeah.
sus on Paul on this one, but all right.
Well, before you snitch, you may be standing outside the bank. The teller has called 911 and we are making our great escape.
Uh-huh.
And, we're waiting for the police to show.
We are?
To be clear, I don't know if this
Okay.
pertains to bank robberies, but we're waiting for the police to show. We're afraid they're going to show. We're trying to get in our car. We look up into the skies. Zzz, about 400 feet up, there may be a drone.
Ugh.
And that drone has flown in an average of 83 seconds from some rooftop in the city to the bank where we are trying to get away, and it is now filming us. Interestingly, it didn't film the whole route. It just films at the site. So
Okay.
we are now on camera. Let's say, Olivia, you're armed. And
I'm
you have
going to shoot the drone
you have a giant-
immediately.
You're going to shoot the drone. You have a giant bazooka out there. You're having a lot of, what do you call it? Like bravado with your bazooka. The police are looking at you through the drone.
And I destroy the drone.
And you might shoot the drone, which there's a history of that in our country, right?
Yeah.
The shotgun and the drone on
I
my
mean,
property.
yeah. It
But let's
happens.
say you don't shoot the drone. The drone is filming you, and the police are now in a position to assess whether, A, we're armed, and you got a big bazooka, so we are, whether they need to get someone there immediately, What's fascinating about this technology, and I think why so many law enforcement agencies love it, is that, I call, someone else calls 911. Before they hang up that call, before intake is done, the drone can be deployed and at the scene of the crime. So that is an incredibly powerful tool for law enforcement, and particularly a department that has been accused widely of having a lagging response time.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, isn't that what deployment of police should be able to do too? Before a call's over, we should be able to deploy the nearest set of cops to the scene of a crime.
That would be the idea. But, in this world of cell phones, there are a lot of people calling 911. I've talked about this with the fire department, how once the cell phone got in the pocket, the number of calls just shot up. Because every time someone sees something concerning, they are putting in a call.
People do not.
Exactly.
Olivia, you're kind of speaking to some of the concerns about this. Have you seen any of this? Have you heard any of this? Or are you feeling any of this?
What?
These drones, the idea that the police might be using drones?
I mean, it's super weird. This is super weird. I mean, when I was reading some of the coverage about this, like you said, it isn't taking video until it gets there. They said that the camera's pointed at the horizon until it gets to the scene of the crime. Okay, I'm going to just blindly believe that. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to believe that. And also, this is weird to me as somebody. I'm gonna out myself. I took a drone course in college.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I took a drone course in college and went through all the
how to fly them.
Yes, how to fly them. How to get certified, all this stuff, and I got prepped for if I wanted to take the certification course, which I ultimately didn't because I ended up in print and then podcasting. But to me, this is when I was taking the course back in 2020, 2021, this was unmanned drones for people to use were not really a thing yet. So is somebody flying this drone, or is this just
an autonomous, a Waymo drone?
Is this a Waymo drone?
Well, so it's interesting. They put in the call, the drone operator has the address in there. And as I understand it, they basically hit a button and the drone deploys and goes. So there is a human who hits a button of some sort. But yeah, I mean, the drone is not being remote control driven. It is automatically on there through whatever mapping systems are being used. That is way outside my expertise.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's flying on its own. When you talk about this whole issue with, and when they talk about the issue of the drone capturing footage along the way, what's interesting is that, that drone could be going over private yards, right? They could be going over private spaces, which typically aren't under surveillance. But if you're going along a road in this town, Flock already has 100+ cameras capturing license plate data.
Which we've been trying to make stop, though.
Well, that's the progressive case on city council is there's a lot of critics of these Flock contracts, which was another thing I wanted to ask you about, Kyle, is how have you heard from, or how does this fit into the conflict that the mayor's been facing on council with the pushback to these surveillance programs?
Yeah. So, one of the things we hear in Denver is that we want better policing, right? So I'll start there. Better policing in this case, for a lot of residents has meant being able to get to someone, identify them faster, right? So we got the cameras shooting license plates. How does it relate to that? So what's powerful about the Flock license plate surveillance program is that it doesn't just capture that data for Denver. It captures it for Denver, and then the city shares it with other law enforcement agencies. So there's an incredible sort of AI-powered database. So if I am in Granby and I have access to Flock, I can capture Denver data, right? The place where and it's important to explain why it's controversial outside of any fears around mass surveillance. People are also deeply concerned that the information being captured by Denver can be shared ultimately with federal immigration enforcement.
Right.
In Denver and Colorado, we have quite a few protections on how local law enforcement can or cannot collaborate with federal immigration enforcement. All that's super important in thinking about why a lot of people are frustrated with the technology because despite Denver having those protections, through April, data from Denver's flock cameras was being picked up and shared with law enforcement agencies nationwide that were involved in active immigration cases, right? That cited ICE as a very specific reason for doing a search through the flock data. All that said, city council on a unanimous vote, there was one member missing.
This is what I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
There was a unanimous vote, and then the mayor found a loophole somehow.
Yeah, so there was a unanimous vote that, no, we're not going to renew this contract. There was a hope to maybe have a deeper conversation, understand the technology more, understand the limits that the technology has under local control. Council shot it down. The mayor then found a pretty obvious loophole, which is that council has to approve contracts that are $500,000 or higher. So he created a contract that was slightly less than that, so it would not require council approval to run the thing for a few months while Flock essentially lobbied council. I mean, their CEO was out here. They had a whole team out here meeting with council members, including Sarah Parody, who's been one of the louder voices against this surveillance system.
Flock CEO, reach out. I would love to talk to that person.
Yeah, he's really interesting. I got to sit down with him for a few minutes, and it was pretty fascinating. But yeah, I mean, they've been lobbying Denver hard to keep the cameras here.
So what I'm curious about here is, so from what I understand, one of the ideas around using AI in law enforcement scenarios is to kind of take out the human error, human emotion element of stops, arrests, things like that.
Bias.
Yes, the bias of humans. But if this drone is, if a person has to push the button to deploy it, what's stopping that human person from just deploying the drone to any scenario? Somebody call, because like you said, people are calling the cops all the time on anything. So what's to stop this person behind the button from hitting the button when somebody calls in and they say, somebody weird's walking down my street?
So 911 dispatchers are making these calls all the time, right? Where is it most urgent to send human police? And it would be a similar process. We're not sure exactly what the bar would be for deploying the drones. It wouldn't necessarily be to every 911 call. It would be to ones where they needed to do a fast assessment.
Well, this is where that accountability of the city council oversight is so important, because they can ask questions like this and establish some guardrails. So it is I can see what the mayor's trying to move fast. We know this is his tendency. He likes this new technology stuff. He says he wants to make mistakes from running too fast, not from standing still too long. So it sounds like, I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm watching for, is where are these things that you're talking about?
It also kind of freaks me out, because one of the things they were going to do earlier when officers make mistakes is they were going to work on retraining internally. You remember this earlier this year?
No, I don't remember this.
And they were going to, I remember Lisa Calderon came on our show and called it writing book reports. But
Right.
they were essentially working on it within and doing more just internal training and stuff. And I'm curious, instead it seems like now we're oh, well, we're going to just fix it by kind of throwing drones at it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the benefits of these drones versus a human being is that the drone is unarmed. So not all drones are unarmed. I mean, we have a long history of
for now
bombing people with drones.
It's pretty easy to imagine a RoboCop future where there's some super highly armed. I mean, because
we're really
the people are the expensive thing.
Little Palantir space here.
Exactly.
And there are law enforcement agencies across the country who are interested in arming the drones.
I bet they are.
We have not heard that at all from the Denver Police Department.
Okay.
I mean, what's so fascinating about this contract is it was so quiet that this thing was signed it was signed back in August. Very few people had heard about this thing. It's a no-cost contract.
How'd you hear about it?
Yeah, why is it free?
No. Yeah, okay, let's talk about that. No cost.
Why
so again,
is it free?
No oversight.
Here's our big wooden Trojan horse. It's just a gift. There's nothing inside it. What? Have our drones for free.
You
It freaks me out.
You get a Red Bull free sample at Sam's Club, and suddenly you're hooked to Red Bull.
Damn,
I mean, I don't know
Red
that this is
Bull's
true.
good.
I hate
Damn.
Red Bull.
Ooh, Red Bull,
I
good.
hate it. I hate it.
But it
You
freaked
hate
me
Red-
when
I
I
hate
saw
Red
this.
Bull.
I was like,
Okay.
why is it free?
Noted.
Sorry, I hate it.
Not
I hate
sponsored.
it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But like, it freaked me out. I'm like, why is it free? That's a creepy.
Yeah.
One of the creepiest things to me. I'm like, ew,
Well, so
ew.
it's interesting because there are a number of companies in this field.
Mhm.
And there was an association of, I think, the chiefs of police, and Denver was approached by multiple companies, right? Who were like, hey, we got this drone first responder technology. They are in conversations,
Yeah.
ongoing conversations with other companies as well. But the free thing gives the department a chance to experiment with it, try it out, see if it works for the city, see if it works for the spirit of the city, if it works for the style of policing we have. And so, the argument for a free contract is, hey, you get to try the thing like a test drive on a car and see if it works. It also creates a really strong relationship between the administration, right? We're in a strong mayor city. It gives some incentive for the city to continue working with Flock. And, ultimately, if we have drones flying around the city that are doing this, Flock drones specifically, they got a chance to test it out. That would be the argument.
I
for
feel
it.
like
they get their data too. That's like
they
it's like what people say about social media. Like if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. I think
Yeah.
that's the
I
case
feel
we're
like
in here
it's
with this
also,
Flock
like,
company.
They're kind of preying on us because, like, obviously they're like, oh, you're broke. Here's a free product,
Mhm.
And so we're like not really in a position to turn that down because we don't really have a lot of money to spend on stuff right now.
On hiring police, we know that's been a big issue.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, yeah, of course they're gonna take it, and they know that. So it's like, just feels a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, one of the conversations we've had a little bit in the newsroom is like, for individuals who've been concerned about more camera surveillance, I think there is a willful sort of amnesia that happens regarding how much camera surveillance we already have. I mean, you commit a crime in this town, there is a very good chance that you are on camera through a Ring camera, through there was a shooting on my block about a year ago, and the cops came by, knocked on the door, and asked specifically, "Do you have a Ring camera? Can you share footage?" The answer is, I better not say if I have a Ring camera or not on the radio, but
Okay, I guess.
didn't have footage, and we are on camera all the time.
Yeah, but Littleton mayoral candidate, for example, was recently caught swiping campaign materials from a rival.
Exactly.
I wonder how much it's gonna be though, because I'm like, I have the experience at my old apartment complex where it's like, oh, you could see the cameras and a crime happened, and I was like, oh, can you pull the footage? And they're like, those cameras don't work. We don't have access to those feeds. So I'm like, are citizens actually gonna have access
That's a good
to
question.
those feeds? Like, will they?
I have an answer. In the contract with the city, they talk very specifically about how the footage will be subject to Colorado Open Records Act law.
And so it will? It will be the subject?
According to the contract, yes. I mean, in any given criminal investigation, there's always a tussle over when footage is available. But in theory, if there's not an active investigation, and perhaps even if there is, depending on the lawyer you're talking to, you should have access to that footage. Which, is
I mean, at least they addressed that.
it's a positive transparency
I mean,
question.
that's
certainly
something
for
we'd be able to
journalists.
look into once this pilot thing starts, which I think is in next August. Is the plan?
No, it ends next August. So it
ends-
started this August.
Oh my God, it's happening?
Wait, they're
DPD has no. DPD has said that they have not used the technology yet. That there is no existing footage from these cameras. So
What about
far.
the Horizon
So we did
footage?
request it.
But they have the drones.
They have, as I understand
Should
it,
we
they
stage a
should have the
crime?
drones based on the contract.
We should stage
We've been
that crime
planning
you were
this bank
talking about
robbery.
and see if they show up.
I'm pretty sure I'm prohibited from staging any crimes, but I welcome
In your personal
anyone.
capacity.
What I will say is there's a deep concern here in terms of civil liberties issues. So let's say there's a protest, and let's say
protest this weekend.
there's a
Mhm.
massive
No Kings
protest this weekend.
protest,
No
yeah.
Kings. We will likely see police drones on the site of that. I mean, the police use drone technology already.
Yeah.
The question being, will this somehow increase the police ability to monitor protests rather than address specific crimes. I am not familiar enough with the contract to say whether that's specifically addressed in the contract. But there certainly are no policies that say law enforcement can't film a demonstration. I mean, we have the right to film in public. It's what allows us to take a photograph on a city street or record video on a city street. The same laws apply to the police. Other cities who have had this technology come have had to address these issues as they've unfolded, right? And so I think our lawmakers, our city council, perhaps state government, not sure exactly the intricacies of how all this works, but there may need to be some legislation passed about how the cameras can be used, when they can be deployed, when they can't be deployed. If there are specific instances like a demonstration where maybe it's inappropriate to use the things unless there are crimes being committed. I mean, there are a lot of deep questions here. But if it's people outside holding signs, that's probably not a reason you would deploy a police drone.
Well, I'm also feeling like there are so many private citizens with drones. Like, are these drones going to have a little like DPD tag on them so we can tell that they're a police drone?
It's a great question. I don't have a great answer for it.
I know there's restrictions on where private citizens can fly drones.
There are, but I'm just curious if we will know that their drones are police drones and not just Joe Schmo's drone.
Or media's drone.
Yeah, is it going to say 9 News drone? Or is it gonna say DPD's drone? I am armed. No,
but I am not armed.
I'm curious. I'm curious.
Me too. So much to think about. So many concerns. I mean, and also I think opportunities. You got to acknowledge that. I mean, the police see a lot of potential here.
Uber Eats.
Certainly,
Uber Eats drone.
It would be possible for the police to be doing a better job. But what metrics and how is that going to look? That's what we're going to watch. And listeners, we want to hear from you. What are you thinking about when it comes to the police using drones to respond to crimes? That's crazy and new. We want to know what you think about, what you care about. Call in, leave us a text, leave us a voicemail, ask a question, 720-500-5418. Again, that's 720-500-5418. But for now, we're going to go to a break, and then we're going to talk about calzones. This episode is brought to you by Denver Film, because movie lovers across the city are getting hyped. It's almost time for Denver's biggest celebration of cinema, and you don't want to miss it. I'm talking red carpets, celebs, Hollywood moguls, exclusive parties and VIP events, and you can be a part of it. Honestly, I've always had a great time at Denver Film Fest. Not only do they bring out so many good movies that you can just show up to basically a random theater on a Tuesday night on a whim and see something interesting, but you also have a chance to dress up nice, go out to a packed screening of one of the year's best, because they always bring the best. The Film Fest returns for its 48th year, running from October 31st to November 9th. They're featuring over 200 of the world's best new films, as well as all kinds of other great events. Choose your adventure and get tickets at denverfilm.org. That's denverfilm.org.
Hi, I'm Michael Ziviak, Chief Revenue Officer of CityCast. Why do most of us want to learn a new language? It's because we want to speak it out in the real world with real people. Babbel gets you there fast. My daughter's a senior in high school, and after she graduates, we're taking a father-daughter trip to Spain. I know, she's spoiled, but that's on me. I'll be honest, my Spanish right now is pretty much tops out at Donde está la biblioteca? But when we get there, I want to actually talk to people, order food, and really connect with the locals, not just stumble through the basics. That's why I'm starting with Babbel. Learning a language with Babbel is all about small steps, big wins, and progress you can actually track and feel. And with how busy things get here at CityCast, I love that Babbel's bite-sized, 10-minute lessons fit perfectly into my day, whether it's between meetings or while I'm having coffee in the morning. I'm really excited to start picking up real-world Spanish before our trip so we can experience Spain in a more meaningful way. Right now, Babbel has a special deal for our listeners. Get up to 55% off your subscription at babbel.com/citycast. That's BABBEL.com/citycast for up to 55% off. Rules and restrictions may apply. Gracias and adios.
All right, we're back. Our hot topic this week. Is it a trick? Is it a treat? Or too good to be true? A third restaurant this year is getting headlines for doing the unthinkable, lowering prices. This time it's Afterburner Calzones on Broadway, according to a report in Westward. Owner Ben Todd is dropping prices from around $13.50 for a calzone to under $10, $9.75 for a calzone. What do we think about this? Lowering prices from a restaurant. Kyle?
As a person who likes to eat in restaurants, I'll say anytime I can get a better deal, I'm more likely to go to that restaurant. I am 40. How old am I? 47. I'm old enough not to remember how old I am. And I can say I remember a time in Denver where I could get a good meal for under $5. And that wasn't that long ago. That was within the last 20 years. I mean, it would be a cheap meal, but it would be a good enough meal, right? Under $10, certainly. People are having a hard time going out to eat. And you hear a lot of complaints from the restaurant industry about this. People just aren't showing up and dining. It's an expensive time to live. We've seen a lot of inflation. And the idea that you can go somewhere and get food that's under $10 has incredible appeal to many customers. And I believe will actually get a lot of folks out. It certainly doesn't cost $10 to make a calzone. So, there may be a lot of opportunity there for Ben and that restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I honestly think there's not much to say about that. The restaurant's lowering prices, good. Thank you. We like that. And it sounds like it's working. I was there last night. The guy at the counter told me he's been so busy all week after the article came out that the owner had to call his wife in to help make calzones. They'd been so busy. So it's working.
What'd you get?
I got the one with the meatballs and the pesto. Honestly, we got to talk about the place because, I got a lot of theories.
You don't remember the name of it?
It was it was one of the fighter pilots. This place is so weird. This calzone shop. The lowering the price is maybe not the only thing that's not driving business to this shop. But Kyle, we wanted to talk to you about this because you wrote an article about this owner Ben Todd. Very memorable, and the neighborhood, and that's the interesting part: is the neighborhood, the prices, how it all fits in context. Give us like the TLDR of that context of this guy.
Sure. So this was summer of 2023, and Ben and his staff were facing a lot of challenges with vandalism, with people running in and stealing the tip jar, with just things that make doing business quite hard.
I didn't see a tip jar last night.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's all card-based now.
Maybe.
The great AI.
Actually, it was. He flipped the iPad on me, and the options were 18%. Not that I remember this every single time vividly whenever it happens to me, but it was 18%, 21%, 25%. 20% not an option in Afterburner
And Paul hit 75%.
Of course I asked.
Because that's how the Paul Caroli method for tipping. He adds his own tip for 75% of every transaction.
Always. Yeah. But anyway, you were saying 2 years ago, they were dealing with a lot of issues.
They were dealing with a lot of issues, just the kind of challenges that retail deals with. The Broadway bike lane at the time was under construction. That was causing problems with parking. Foot traffic was down on the corridor. And there were also quite a few people sleeping out in the alleys, sleeping in the area.
Yeah. So how did Ben Todd deal with this?
Well, Ben was so frustrated with the crime and the way he framed it was crime from the unhoused population down there, that there was a person who did something.
He took his scooter. I remember
I
remember this vividly.
There was a guy
who's been talking about this article for 2 years.
I love
calzone
it.
place.
I love it.
It's very memorable.
Yeah,
but a guy took a scooter.
No. He eventually took the scooter, I think, and chased them down. But there was a crime at the shop. He was so frustrated, he ended up chasing the person down and zip tying them and bringing them back to the shop. And he was so frustrated by slow police time that he was going to take the law into his own hands and became something of a neighborhood restaurateur/vigilante. His staff, some of whom had experienced homelessness, who had dealt with substance issues, they were also really frustrated, and they were really tired of having to navigate the challenges of vandalism, of theft, of losing their own money, right? Their own tips. So they were also kind of in a state of like vigilantism. we decided after I talked to Ben, I was like, I want to go down there and sort of see for myself what's happening, and ended up spending from shop open till I don't know what ungodly hour in the morning it was, but it was somewhere around 22 hours, I think, that we Kevin, our photographer, and I spent down there. Talking to folks in the restaurant, watching the traffic come in and out, talking to folks who were living in the alley about their own experiences. One gentleman who was living next to a dumpster, was so frustrated by pressure from the business owners that at the time he was weighing burning the place down. So there was what I would describe as a class war sort of happening on this one tiny block. There were questions about vigilantism, whether you can take the law into your own hand, whether you should, whether the city was managing crime, managing homelessness in a way that allowed people to basically function and do business. And, it was fascinating to listen to the stories of the workers who'd gone through so many different experiences and who are also struggling to do the very thing many of us are in Denver, which is just live here, pay rent.
Sure. Sure.
You work a minimum wage job. It is hard to pay rent in the city. You work a minimum wage job and your tips are taken. It's even harder. So there were real challenges they were facing. It
was a very, very vivid reporting. And like I said, Olivia has been talking about this because I think you had your own place in this conflict.
Yeah. Well, at this time, I was working for $17 an hour at an unnamed newspaper. And so I didn't have any money, but I was new to the city, fairly new. And I'm, going out on South Broadway. That's where I'm hanging out. And this is one of the only places that's open till like 3 a.m. So it's open late. And they had a late night happy hour of Cutwater cocktails, which if you know, they had I swear it was like buy one, get one free, which is diabolical for those drinks. Two of them will destroy you. Like two of them, you will be drunk. And so like I would go in there with my friends and we would get a calzone and do the buy one, get one and be plastered from these, like, I swear. Anyway, but this was a spot where it was open late. It was a deal I could afford. And like, I sat in there and, was with my friends feeling great off these drinks after, going out and sitting there and talking with this guy. He's like telling us all this weird esoteric stuff about his extremely niche themed restaurant, which I have, I don't know anything about, like, but I'm just, feeling great and listening and love the enthusiasm and just, it was so cool. I love this spot. It was such a spot for me and it was so cool. And I was telling people about it. I'm like, place is open late. The people who work there are really cool. The calzones are great. They got a great deal. And then I read this article from you and it just destroyed me. I'm not gonna lie. Like reading this guy that like I thought was so cool. I thought this guy was really cool. And like, I spent like evenings chatting with him and just like hearing him just have this contempt for unhoused people just really broke my heart. And like, I understand that it's really hard to be a business owner and I get that stuff, but just like the details of him, like, handcuffing someone, it hurt so bad. And I was like, wow, this place is kind of dead to me. So I don't know.
I mean, so given this context, how are we feeling about the price drop then? Because I think this kind of is the story of Denver restaurants in the last few years. He's got all this tough stuff happening around the business. He's trying to deal with like rising costs. And here's his response. So what do you two think?
Two thoughts, because while all of that was very vivid as he told it and described, there's a flip side to both Ben and the restaurant in terms of how they address homelessness, which is they knew a lot of folks in the alley.
Yeah.
They gave water to people. They employed people also who were unhoused. So there was some piece of that conversation that I think was also really interesting, because on the one hand, you have vigilante justice. On the other hand, you have people who are actually like helping the folks who are living on the street. And I think that's a complexity we often don't acknowledge.
Yeah.
In talking about this. But the price drop, I mean, my God, like in a city where affordability is such a big issue, I think it is a net benefit. Raising $10 to buy a calzone is actually within reach of many people.
I gotta be real with you. It's very tempting for me.
To go back for that $9.75 calzone?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, this already was a great place for me. The location was good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the late night deals were good. It's open late after the bars. And like now it's so cheap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's tempting.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say, they're a local business trying to figure it out like many others. Like most of us, I think they navigate a complex, moral, practical, economic reality.
Yeah.
I would never tell someone to, I mean, it's not my job to tell someone whether to boycott it or not boycott it or support it. I mean, these are decisions everyone has to make. I think after the story came out, if I recall correctly, Ben told me that they had some extra clients showing up, which is so interesting.
Really?
I think, yeah. And I think that there's a complexity to our city and the issues that our city is facing that creates real challenges. But there is a net benefit to the public when you can buy something affordable when you go out. I mean, can you get an affordable drink that's less than $8, $10? If you can go to a place where you can, you're probably going to go to that place.
I have a theory.
I love it. What is
about the price drop. So I was there, like I said, last night. Normally, this is not my kind of place, and if I'm going out to a place that has calzones, those are places that have pizza. I'm getting the pizza.
This was also just they have like a machine that makes they put it in and it flips it. Like it's kind of like an easy bake oven for calzones.
Mm-hmm.
Would you describe
it's almost
right.
more of a toaster oven.
Yeah,
than a
it's just
pizza
like
oven.
they put it
It's
in and
rolling-
and it comes out. Like there's not really a lot of like artistry to the crafts for the Paul Carolis of the world.
Well, yes, for sure. I mean, this business is very particular. I think if you go in there with a critical eye, you'll learn a lot about Ben Todd. He's obsessed with fighter pilots.
Obsessed.
Yes.
He loves fighter pilots. He loves
So
Top
much.
Gun.
Yes.
And he had an idea for a business around this calzone thing that would be extremely low labor. And the ingredients, I mean, I don't think it would be just my own tasting them, pretty low cost. This stuff, that's why it can be cheap. But he also had another idea that made me think like, this guy has a very specific idea of how he thinks the world should work, which is 0 forks given.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you remember this?
Of course, that was the case.
This was the defining feature of the business from my experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't any of the price. It was the price, like I'm sure that's going to drive business, but I think what's keeping some people away is there's no silverware.
As I recall, they were pretty adamant about that, and not just adamant about 0 forks given, but like you want a fork, we don't want you here.
Yeah,
and
it's like a bit.
That.
It's like a bit.
Yeah,
It's kind of a
love
calzone Nazi situation. I go up there, I ask him, I'm like, can I get some silverware to eat this calzone?
You asked for a fork? Did they kill you
I asked for a
on the
fork.
spot?
No, but he was like, if you actually look at any of the tables and any of the signs on the wall or this ginormous poster,
He is
which
very sarcastic.
you can see why I'm not going to give you a fork. And then it was a big poster that said 0 forks given. And then it was a long paragraph that I didn't read all of because I just was laughing at it. I was like, are you kidding me, man? But the poster explained, for 300 years, people have been eating calzones and you should enjoy the warmth of the calzone between your hands. And I was like, okay, man, sure, I'll do it your way. And you know what happened when I left that place? I had to wash my hands. I got calzone juice all over my hands. It's not fun. It's not nice, Ben Todd. Give me a fork. Let me do it my way.
I'm going to defend the forklessness a little bit.
At your own
giant,
peril. This is
BYOF,
Go ahead.
Paul.
the giant calzones that you get at some shops absolutely require a fork. But these are like hand sandwiches. I mean, they're small. They fit right in your hand. You don't need a fork.
I would have liked a fork.
You would have liked.
I would have liked a fork because I had mozzarella juice and pesto juice all over my fingers halfway through this
Then
calzone.
you lick it off.
And the other thing is, because it's a pocket and it's so hot, you take a bite out of
It
it.
will burn the roof of your mouth off if you don't let
okay.
it sit.
Well, that's another good tip. I didn't have that issue personally.
I
but
have
No
many
blisters
times
given.
there.
the insides all sogged down to the bottom. So the first half of my calzone eating experience
You eat it
was
like this.
mostly crust and a little bit of mozzarella. And then the very end was lots of mozzarella, lots of pesto, overwhelming amounts of grease and oil. and it was like totally mismatched, and neither was good. There was no perfect bite in the middle.
Okay.
I think there's other issues at
I've
this
never
place.
had that experience, but I have never eaten one of their calzones sober. So
Okay.
I think that probably also is part of the appeal.
Mhm.
But yeah, I remember like he does have that kind of like dry humor, like flippant kind of thing, which like I found endearing when I was there before. But I remember last Halloween I was at one of his other establishments, the Rhapsody karaoke bar.
Yes. Tell us about this.
Which that night, this was after your article, and that night I did end up at his calzone bar afterwards because it was late and I needed food before I was gonna go home.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, from what I understand that karaoke bar doesn't exist anymore. Which I'm gonna be honest, I did predict because we walked in there and drinks were suspiciously cheap and there was no cover. But my group went in there and there was a costume contest and there was a large miscommunication with my group and everybody started saying, if we win, we're gonna win $1,000. And
So you and your friends were a little bit drunk and thought
we
there was
honestly
a big prize for
weren't.
this
We
thing?
honestly weren't. But I was like, "There's no way we're gonna win $1,000. Like, are you looking at this place? Like, we didn't even pay to get in. There's no way we're gonna win $1,000." So anyway, we stayed all night so we could win because we had a great costume. We were the characters from Shrek, sans Shrek, and so we stayed and we won the costume contest. But we ended up winning $1,000 worth of bottle service. But we tried to coordinate with this guy to get our prize.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, I can only give it to you on like a Wednesday or a Thursday night. Like we couldn't cash in on the prize on like an actual
On a weekend
night.
Ugh.
So we just never did it because it was just weird.
Huh.
And I don't know. Also, my friend lost her fairy godmother wings behind the booth at the calzone place. So
Wow.
need those back. But
Sad Halloween memory.
I don't know, just a weird vibe. I've been that place a lot of times. I have a lot of thoughts.
Before we move on, I guess the Broadway question of this, Broadway, that stretch in Baker I think it's improved quite a bit. I mean, a lot of these issues we were talking about have changed, and the merchants around there have put a proposal on their ballots, so people in the neighborhood are going to vote to form a business or a general improvement district, so they're going to be able to hopefully tax themselves and fund some more neighborhood improvements. How do you all feel about that neighborhood? What's the vibe down there these days?
I love South
Good?
Broadway.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way. It was great. Last night, loved it.
South Broadway. Sometimes I feel like I'm missing things. When you live somewhere long enough, you start getting nostalgic. So there are, I miss Mutiny being there.
Yeah.
I miss the old, the Crypt. I miss when it was a little bit like queer. It was wonderful. Like the gay bars down there were great. There's a lot of that's missing. And it feels clean in this way that, I don't know.
It is very clean, I think.
That's a great thing for many people. I'm just a filthy human being.
It's not the Broadway of the 2010s.
No.
Like when the High Dive was that central hub and there was that,
Yeah.
But the High Dive's still there.
Still there.
I mean, there's still
good.
There's still exciting stuff. I mean, I think this year, looking at the Underground Music Showcase, having its last year on South Broadway in whatever form it's in and whatever that actually meant is a shift for that block. And I think there's a lot like that where I'm like, okay, the things that we used to kind of count on and love and enjoy down there don't feel quite there. But again, that may just be getting a little old, a little out of touch with what, other people like. I'll say that.
Well, I think we should leave it there. I'd love to hear what listeners think about the Calzone shop. Have you been to Afterburner Calzones? How'd you feel about it? Is the price drop going to get you back in there more? 720-500-5418 is the number to call. Send us a text, leave us a voicemail, 720-500-5418. One more break and then wins and fails.
It's time to go over to our CityCast Denver neighbor and sponsor of this week's episode, Elizabeth Martinez with Compass Real Estate, for our weekly segment, Navigating Denver Real Estate, to answer all of your Denver housing market questions.
Hey neighbors, we're changing things up a bit. This week we're going to do some storytelling, discussing real life moments that happen behind the scenes in real estate. So I have a recent crazy story. My sellers had just inherited their neighbor's home. They had lived next door for some 20 years and had even cared for her as her health declined. She'd been in that house for 40 plus years, and let's just say it had dilapidated character. During the inspection, the buyer brought in a structural contractor to get a quote, and right away, my red flag went up. Some of these contractors often offer these inspections for free, but they make their money by recommending big repairs that might not even be necessary. So I suggested we bring in a licensed structural engineer, someone trusted and truly qualified to evaluate what was going on. And sure enough, that second opinion revealed the home was structurally sound. My sellers avoided unnecessary repairs and saved $70,000. It's a great reminder when it comes to real estate, having the right expert and getting secondary opinions can make all the difference.
This segment is sponsored by Elizabeth Martinez with Compass Real Estate. Have a question about Denver real estate? Use the link in the show notes to submit it. Elizabeth might answer your question in next week's segment.
And we're back. It's time for the best way to end the week. Wins and fails, aka Rocky Mountain highs and lows. Each of us brought a recent local something, one that we think is a win and one that we think is a fail, and we're going to talk about them. Olivia, you want to start us off with a fail?
Yeah. So my fail is, I guess, the justice system. There's anyway.
All right.
All right. But Kylie Bierce, a meteorologist at Fox 31, has essentially been dealing with a stalker for years here in Denver. And she's had a restraining order against this man. And basically, in September, he violated it and she reported it. And he should have been charged with felony stalking because he has had like enough run-ins with this and like she has the documentation and stuff. But anyway, he was essentially just charged with a misdemeanor, and then he got released from jail just a couple days later. And she's been speaking out about this after this has happened, and I just think it's, you know, really disappointing that people in our industry and then just, you know, people in general have to feel unsafe, and also like people aren't being held accountable for being creeps and for breaking the law, and just, you know, people can't feel safe in their own home. She was in her own home and this man rolled up on her and made her uncomfortable. So I feel goes to, you know, just the lack of accountability here for this guy.
Must have gotten quite serious. I mean, sounds like it's gotten really bad for her to want to talk about this publicly. That can't be fun to do.
Yeah, she's been speaking out about it a lot. I've seen her making videos about it. I'm reading this article in the Denver Post about it. And she's just speaking out because, like, you know, she's not the only one who's dealt with this. A lot of women in the industry and just a lot of people in general deal with this. And I think, you know, we need to talk about it and hold these people accountable and like say it's not okay for people to get off easy when they're threatening people and making them feel unsafe to do their job and be in their homes. So, you know, that sucks. Boo.
I watched her, the Fox 31 was on at the gym near my mother-in-law's house when I was living up there for a few months. So I would see her like 3 mornings a week. She's great.
Yeah, she used to work at 9. She's been here a minute. So I don't know. Just stop. Stop stalking. Stop stalking people. If I catch you, Ricky. Okay.
Kyle, you got to fail?
I got to fail, but I fear it might not be entirely local, but it feels local to me, if you'll forgive me. So I want to talk a little bit about the Pentagon. And this, and as a journalist, it feels deeply local in this way where, you know, the Pentagon has a new set of rules designed to hamstring how reporters report. And so in terms of access to government, anytime government prevents transparency, I think that's a giant fail. But there's a silver lining here that I think is fascinating, which is that the vast majority of the press corps that covers the Pentagon, from Fox News and Newsmax to The Guardian, NPR, New York Times, the breadth of the political spectrum from left, right to center, joined together and said, hey, we're walking. We're not going to agree to comply with this. And I think that in terms of defending press freedoms, in terms of finding places of unity in democracy, like I find it very inspiring when people across the spectrum find a reason to come together. So on the one hand, my fail is every instance where government fails to be transparent. My plus is where the public finds ways to push toward greater transparency.
Yeah, that's a nice one. I saw that happen too. I watched that go down. It was cool. All these, I mean, Fox News, Newsmax, like you said, good on them for pushing back on the Trump administration like this. I have to say something I was thinking about with this was, I know people at the Pentagon like transparency. They see the value of the accountability of the public knowing things they're working on. Not everything, obviously, but there's a very storied history of folks sharing information from the inside with the press. And if anyone wanted to do that, now'd be a great time.
Absolutely.
Anything people should know about.
I will say, in terms of locally speaking, any restrictions on city workers, for example, or PIO's ability to speak candidly to the press does reflect a similar thing. So I'm not aware of any concrete policies, but I will say when there are vibes that people don't want to talk, it makes me deeply concerned about government transparency. And I'm heartened when folks want to come out and speak about their experiences and speak about their stories without fear of retribution. So I'd say another fail here is any sense locally that people are afraid of speech and afraid of addressing what's going on in city government. And so
do you see that anywhere? Do you want to?
I hear about that a lot from city workers who say that they're really scared to go on the record. And to me, that's incredibly concerning. I'm not sure if that's from a specific policy or vibes or a general mistrust in the press, but any aspect of our city government and city leadership that clamps down on people's ability to speak to what's happening directly without it being mediated through government spokespeople, that sort of thing, is a fail. And I'm not sure what the sources of that are, but it's deeply concerning when I hear city workers who are afraid to talk on the record. And not because they're afraid, not because I have any desire to disrespect that, whatever trust exists there, but more it makes me very concerned about how much we can have access to democracy, to free conversation, to access to government when government feels a little scared in the context of layoffs, in the context of certainly a general sense that retribution is a possibility. So I would love to see us live in a city where it was very clear that people who are paid by taxpayers to do their jobs feel an ability to speak freely.
Yeah, we certainly heard a lot about those fears this year around the layoffs. Well, my fail here is sort of in the vein of you got to give it up. You know, this is an effort that someone tried and they failed. Not that I think it's good or bad, but this is a fail for the Mayor Mike Johnston. He wanted to buy an old auto shop downtown and convert it to affordable housing. The proposal was to spend $2.5 million from the reserve fund to buy this land and then build some housing. A lot of, that's what the city wants. A big priority for a lot of folks. Downtown, like 15th and Tremont, kitty corner from the Pavilions. City Council said, no, don't do that. Vote was 7-4. They said the argument was basically the reserve fund is for emergencies. This is not an emergency. So that is a fail for the mayor. He tried something and the council is not having it these days. The kumbaya feeling we had a year and a half ago with these two branches of our local government is over, I think. I think the layoffs have cooled the friendliness considerably, and they are skeptical, and he failed.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating one. It's a fascinating one because if you look at polling over, Johnston's entire term, affordable housing is the number one priority.
Yeah.
But this is the second big fail. The first happened at the ballot in the last election
last year.
Pitched a new sales tax for affordable housing, and that was shot down. So in listening to council, there is so much more skepticism about how we're spending money. And when you're looking at a $250 million over 2-year projected deficit, you can understand why council members are saying, whoa, we need to really think about how we're spending money, particularly contingency fees, particularly when we're looking at a lot of deferred maintenance. I mean, millions and millions and millions of dollars of deferred maintenance across city buildings. And we're asking the voters to essentially go into debt in order to pay for some maintenance, some new construction projects.
You're talking about the bond again.
The bond again, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to wins. I'll go first. I want to give him a win to someone I've given many wins over the years. Probably my favorite chef in town, Jose Avila of La Diabla in El Borrego Negro. He opened a new place this week called Malinche Audio Bar. Very interesting name. If you know, you know. I'll put a link in the show notes to explain a little bit about that. But it's a great restaurant. It's on Platt Street. The concept is like Mexican, Japanese kind of fusion takes. I thought it was a little bit more of like Mexican concepts with some Japanese ingredients personally. The dessert was a standout. It was a nixtamalized corn custard topped with pear and salmon roe for a little bit of that salty contrast to the sweetness of the custard. Lots of interesting ideas at this place. Not the traditional take that he has at La Diabla or El Borrego Negro. Very forward-looking, very innovative, very interesting, and great music. He has a big collection of old Mexican vinyl, and that's what he's playing all night long at this place, and it's great. Highly recommended.
Sounds incredible.
Yes.
Do they have $10 or less dishes?
Yeah, how much?
No. That was the one. My critique is it's a little pricey.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
I've been demanding blue plate specials to anyone who will listen to me. You know, I miss those. But maybe one day I'll save up.
One day. Olivia, how about you? What's your win?
My win goes to Matthew Silverstone, one of the victims of the Evergreen shooting. He was released from the hospital this week.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and he's, the doctors were prepared for the worst, and he can speak. And I saw a photo of him standing, and he just got like a big, balloon, send off when he left the hospital. And the other victim of the shooting was also released from the hospital earlier this month. And I'm just really happy to see that he's doing better and he's recovering and he gets to go home and start, recovering there. So big win to him, and also big win to just the Evergreen community. I was up there last weekend. Evergreen's like a second home to me. I worked up there when I first moved out here, and just there are signs everywhere, saying Evergreen strong, just supporting each other in this time. They have all these little flags where you can write messages of support to the students, to just kind of like uplift them in this uncertain time. And the community was really coming together right now. So big win to that community.
That is nice to hear.
Yeah.
All of that is great to hear.
It was really great.
I saw some photos of Matthew Silverstone, and it was just smiling coming out of the hospital. It was great.
Yeah.
Felt good.
So happy to hear that.
Great win, Olivia. Kyle.
Yes.
Our last win.
My win is like a vibes win. And this is,
Vibes.
we've talked a lot about public safety and AI and drones and all these things. And something I've seen in the last couple weeks that I have absolutely loved that feels to return to something very good are in-person human gatherings where people talk about things and don't rip each other apart. I was invited to a salon at these lovely West City Park folks' house. It was, we just talked, and they brought people into their home and had a conversation. And like that was so cool. The 16th Street Mall reopening, now it's a little old, but like seeing people gather there in all sorts of ways was very cool. Seeing people go to the streets to express their views, again, in person, a beautiful, important thing. And as we're talking so much about AI and technology and watching an absolute transformation of our world that's beyond imagination in some ways, I think that the power of the humble in-person gathering where people come together of different beliefs, of different perspectives, and share space is like the best. And to me, the fact that these folks are doing that in their house in West City Park is a beautiful thing. And every time people come together and just share space, maybe share a drink, a coffee, food, whatever, and have a conversation is a massive win. And I absolutely love it.
That's cool.
Love that.
You alluded to the No Kings protest again this
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
I wonder, I checked the crowd size, the numbers from the last one in June that were quite big. It was probably the biggest anti-Trump protest we've seen. I think people were saying mostly it was like 5,000, maybe as many as 7,000 people. I thought it was a little bit lower personally when I was there. Do you have an estimate? What's your prediction for this weekend?
I am no prophet, but I will say that on the permitting forms, they said 10,000.
Oh.
The rumbles I've heard suggest that a very broad swath of people will be coming out for that. So 10,000 may be an
We'll see.
underestimate. But, I'll say anytime, regardless of political perspective, people come together and voice things as humans, that's a win, right? Whatever their perspectives are, leave the guns at home, have the conversation.
Wear layers.
Wear
comfortable
layers.
shoes.
Yeah, don't shoot each other.
Wear appropriate socks for your shoes. Do not wear a sock
Absolutely.
that your shoe is going to eat. You don't want blisters. It's important when you're going to be on your feet all day. Also,
Practical.
the AI drone is not your friend. You can make a friend in the crowd. AI is not your friend. Just giving my
Love it.
2 cents on all
And
this.
look up from
Inspiring
your
stuff.
phone.
Look up from your phone. Turn your phone off. Make a friend.
Even better.
Make a
Or
friend.
Download a
videotape
new
a bunch
app.
of stuff. Do the journalism thing, which I'll be doing.
Go
with
become a
phones.
member of CityCast Denver at membership.citycast.fm.
Okay. That's
Be my
great.
friend.
Lots of good advice. That's really great stuff, everyone. I got one last plug before we say goodbye. Tune into KNUS this morning, Friday morning. If you've heard this and you want more, our host Bree Davies and I are going to be on Jeff Hunt's show talking about Denver. He's one of the area's most conservative, most outspoken conservatives. We're going to be doing a whole 4-hour slot with him, and should be
Humans coming together to discuss things. Incredibly important.
We'll put the line
Wow.
that you can call in the show notes.
we will.
You can
Oh,
call
please
in,
do.
Call in and
CityCast
say
people
something
call in.
nice.
Yes, do
We'll
it.
put it in the show notes.
Good idea, Olivia. Hey, Olivia, Kyle, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were Lizzie Goldsmith, Matthew Rogers, Olivia Jewel Love, and me, Paul Caroli. We recorded the Dude.IDK studios in 5 Points. Peyton Garcia writes our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Abby Madigan runs our social media. Bree Davies is our host, and we'll be back soon. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Instagram at CityCast Denver, and tell Matthew Silverstone about us the next time you see him. Don't forget you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. You can sign up for that daily newsletter I mentioned and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. And I wanted to close with a special shout out to a longtime listener, Cynthia AM, who I was emailing with a bit this week. She gave me some real criticism. Cynthia, thank you for that. And thank you for being open to talking it out. See you all next week.